going on, everybody? Welcome back to another exciting episode of the Viall Files, Ask Nick edition. We are glad that you've chosen this show, among others. What's going on? We got Allie and Amanda here.
I have a suggestion for people who might do a girls' night or a Zoom night in their future, because I had a very successful one with some friends from college.
A Zoom night?
Yeah.
Like with friends?
Because we all live in different states, so we hang out over Zoom. And my friend Carly created a college experience Jeopardy, and she asked all of us questions about college and things she needed help remembering. And then she made categories of kiss and tell, so people we'd hooked up with, or shows that we were in, or shows that we didn't get cast in, or who said it, quotes of people we went to school with. And then we all made cocktails and went through the game, and it was very fun.
It was a trip down memory lane.
Yeah, and it was there were some things about my history that I would she was like, oh yeah, he was the guy that bit your forearm when you were making out. And I was like, I literally forgot about that. There were moments of my past that I didn't even
I like a good little Jeopardy reminiscing.
I have had a week of extremes, and the good extremes.
So just a normal week for you.
And especially extreme week. But the good extremes where I've been really consistent with the German with my grandfather. We've been doing it 3 times this week. And also I went on a great first date with this really lovely girl.
Is broken leg guy done?
No, actually had a really productive, we had quite a conversation. It was a check-in basically, where he was like, I feel like you're advancing things, and I worry that he got tearful. He was like, I just don't want to hurt you, and I just want to and proactively communicate. Yeah. Well, he was, because he was I think he was you treat me really well, and I'm just worried that I'm gonna I feel like maybe things are moving on your end, and I'm still where I was before.
And he cried.
And he cried a lot, and I was like, and I, to his credit, I was like, it was really cool of you to initiate this conversation.
Sure.
And I feel like we've just been very communicative, so it was a welcome check-in. But
the crying seems a bit excessive. Do you think there is any chance there was some performing
on his part?
Yeah,
no, I think he's just a really good guy, and I think where do the tears come from? Of my psychoanalysis is that because he sort of alluded to I just, I want to handle this the way I would want to handle it. And I think he's maybe been really disappointed in situationships prior, potentially been the one who was trying to advance things and it didn't go over well. And I think he thought he was causing me pain. He's a very he's in therapy. He's very comfortable with his emotions. I was a little bit confused as to why it was happening, but
Yeah, I mean, it's just a little intense for early dating. Hey, this is just not going.
No, but I feel I don't know this guy, but I've been in the position of, I feel like whoever I'm with is advancing it more than I am. And I cried not to that person, but to a different person talking about the situation, not because I was sad or anything about the situationship, but it came from more of a sense of being overwhelmed and frustrated with myself that I couldn't necessarily get to where that person was. So there's a lot of behind the scenes emotion that I've gone through where I'm oh shit, I'm not where they're at, and I'm overwhelmed / frustrated / confused.
I guess.
I don't know, destigmatize crying. I don't think it's a huge deal to cry. Sometimes I cry over stupid shit, and sometimes I cry over meaningful shit.
I hope I'm not coming down on crying here. I just,
I was also,
you're describing a level of intensity, what would be normally appropriate for an early DTR. And we're you're not even breaking up.
Yeah, it's we're just literally just saying we're not
doing things the right way. You guys are checking in, you're handling this maturely. And
I think part of it is that it was we hadn't slept very much the night before. So I think, and also with injury stuff, he's just been
he's just had a rough go of it.
He's had a rough go of it. I think he was overwhelmed, and I feel but at the end I was because he kept apologizing. I was okay, now you're actively activating my ego because I'm not upset at you saying this.
Yeah.
Is it a little bit of a kind of okay, is it a healthy reminder that not everybody's obsessed with me and wants to marry me? Yes, it's a very healthy reminder of that. But I'm not that disappointed by this, but the way you keep apologizing and crying.
Well, that's what I'm saying. It's
Makes
almost
me
like,
feel
why do you feel like I'm not going to be okay?
Yeah, exactly.
That's what I mean. Like the crying, it's just like,
Yeah.
whoa, like,
Yeah.
I don't know. We have a great episode for you. As always, I appreciate the people writing in their stories, and we always need more stories to share. So email us with your challenges and situationship problems at asknick@castmedia.com. Cass with a K. We have a great week lined up for you. The wonderful Allie Barthwell is back to recap The Bachelorette. I know many of you who listen to our Bachelor recaps truly loved Allie. She was hysterical, had some great perspective, and you all wanted her back, so we are bringing her back. And then on Wednesday, we have the very funny and charming Fibula. If you've been on TikTok, you've probably seen some of his content. Just a delightful guy, and enjoyed my chat with him. And that is on Wednesday. You will not want to. If you want to just a nice, fun, loving conversation with two just men, tune in on Wednesday. Other than that, again, don't forget to send those questions. And if there's nothing else, let's get to our callers.
Let's ask Nick your sexy questions.
How's it going?
Good. How are you?
Great. How can I help? What's your name?
My name's Becca. I'm 23 and I've been engaged for about 2 years together, or 3 years together for about 4.
Okay.
And I've been having a little issue with my fiance within the past year and a half, 2 years, blacking out. And he does some not awesome things. And it started this one time, and then it happened once every like 3 or 4 months. And I've made it quite clear that I'm not okay with this. This is something that we need to like figure out very quickly. And then there was one big kind of thing about 7 months ago, and he blackout obviously, and he was just for the first time getting aggressive. And this is the most passive person I've ever like
aggressive with
met.
You, or just aggressive in general, or like slamming doors and throwing things?
Both. I mean, both. I mean, he never like hit me or like hurt me like that, but there would be times where he would like charge at me like he was angry, and then like fall on the bed or whatever. So after that experience, I kind of stayed up all night and then just wrote a huge long thing of just events that happened that night. Just, this is what happened. This is what happened. This is what happened. And we had that discussion the next morning.
When he woke up, does he have any recollection whatsoever?
No, he knew that he had like fucked up because he couldn't remember anything, and blacking out in general has been like an issue that we were like dealing with, trying to work through. And so this one, he knew it was bad, especially with me being out on the couch and him waking up and I looked like I had no sleep, so.
And
yes.
when he's not drinking and not blacking out, everything's just real good.
Perfect. Yeah. Well, and it's one of those things where I never have to worry about it if it's just me and him drinking, or if it's like a small, intimate setting like that. But if it's a social gathering where there's other people and everyone's kind of drinking, that's the only time it like really gets out of hand. So basically after that time, about 7 months ago, I put it all out on the line and I was like, listen, if I'm ever scared for like my physical well-being again, ring is on the table. I'm going home. Like that's a hard boundary, a hard line that I am not putting up with.
When was that? When did you do that?
That was like 7 months ago.
And
since then, I have really seen him like be putting in a big effort to make sure that he's like not blacking out, keeping track of how much he's drinking. Like just, I can tell he's actively thinking and worrying about it every time there's alcohol involved. That being said, about a week ago, we were at a social gathering and he blacked out and I brought him home, and he wasn't like aggressive like he was that last time, but he blacked out to the point where I woke up to him urinating in not the bathroom. So, and that has happened a couple of times.
The way you describe your fiance in some ways reminds me of one of my very close friends, not from an aggressive standpoint. He never made his now wife or any of his girlfriends, to my knowledge, feel uncomfortable or unsafe, or he never got aggressive with them. But he got aggressive with me and some of his other buddies, or he would black out and most of the time do things that would put him at risk or him in danger. It was mostly about his safety. And this is the sweetest, gentlest person in the world. Like everyone loved, but like when he would drink whiskey, he would go to this dark place and you could see it in his eyes. He's not there.
Exactly. It's almost like I could describe it as sleepwalking. Like when he's in these states and he's like peeing everywhere, like throwing up everywhere, or, doing whatever. I'll talk to him and I'll be like saying words and he'll say something back, but he's not there. Like it's like he's asleep, there's no use.
So listen, I mean, my buddy, it got to a point, well, he would go out, his girlfriend at the time, this is like you kind of like the position you're in, was just like, you just got to stop. It just became a non-negotiable, and he cared enough to make a difference. And my buddy, I think he just stopped, just no shots, no whiskey, stuff like that. He kind of narrowed it down. He's married with kids and he doesn't, I think he might have a couple beers and that's about it. He doesn't really do that. But when we were at a time in our lives where there was a lot of going out and, you're engaged, but it sounds like you guys are young. So you have a group of friends, we tend to be a little heavier drinkers at that age. And sometimes we grow out of it and sometimes not. But have you videotaped him or tried?
I should. That's what like everyone kind of says to me, but I'm just so pissed off in the moment and like so upset. Like last time that it happened, I just left. I went to my parents' house. They don't live far. So I just left for the night, which I kind of regret because like looking back on it, if he were to like throw up in his sleep or whatever, it could have been dangerous. Like,
is he open to just not drinking anymore?
We've talked about it, but I don't want to be that person that's like.
What is that person? What do you mean? You don't want to be that person? I don't understand.
Okay. Let me clarify. I don't want to be in a position where I have to say, you have to stop drinking or having any like doing that whole thing to be with me. You know what I mean? Like,
I don't know. I don't know what you mean. Why is that an unrealistic boundary to set for you?
I don't think it's unrealistic. I think that
are you comfortable?
A guilt.
What about what if it was cocaine? What if it was heroin?
That's a no-go.
Okay. Well, I mean, I know alcohol is very socially acceptable.
Yeah.
I understand it's part of our culture. I understand shit in some circles, like, hey, don't make me drink alone. It's one of those like things that we use as peer pressure and things like that. But the reality is, from a scientific standpoint, and I'm not a scientist, but like alcohol is a very damaging drug. If you're looking for some wonderful new furniture, whether for your indoor rooms or your outdoor rooms, look no further than the wonderful Article. Article is the easiest way to make your place look beautiful. It's a direct-to-consumer company that combines the curation of a boutique furniture store with the comfort and simplicity of online shopping. I got so many compliments on my Article couch. It's comfortable. It looks great. As the weather gets cooler, it's time to start thinking about a return to entertaining, whatever that looks like for you. But from the joyful excitement of a welcoming entryway to the comfort of a beautiful yet relaxed dining space, Article's newest collection invites guests to make themselves at home. Article's team of designers focuses on beautiful crafted pieces, quality materials, and durable construction. Here's the thing. You want to look great, have it be good quality, look expensive, but not pay an arm and a leg. And what I just described is Article. So many great options, great furniture pieces, made of the highest of quality and reasonable prices, part of which is because they cut out the middleman, the direct-to-consumer fair prices. And you can save up to 30% over traditional retail prices because Article is able to, cut out that middleman. Just cut them out. Fast, affordable shipping is available across the U.S. and Canada and is free on orders over $900. $99. Article is offering our listeners $50 off your first purchase of $100 or more. Go to article.com/VIALL and the discount will be automatically applied at checkout. That's article.com/VIALL to get $50 off your first purchase of $100 or more. Brooklinen, the eighth wonder of the world. Holiday season is approaching, and if you want to make someone's day/year, give them the gift of Brooklinen. I mean, their sheets are amazing. Their duvet, comforters, hand towels, bath towels. You can like just change someone's whole aesthetic in their house at such reasonable prices, and they will thank you for it. Like if you give someone Brooklinen, you'll be their best friend. They'll be like, "Oh my God, thank you for introducing me to the amazing wonders that is Brooklinen." Yeah, they also have great loungewear, super comfortable. Their sweatshirts, t-shirts, their pants, it's so amazing. Like every time I put them on, I'm like, how is this material? Like, where do they find this space? I don't know where they find it, but either way, it's great. Brooklinen's goal is to create beautiful, high quality home essentials that don't cost an arm and a leg. And it's a perfect place to find the best gift possible. And don't just take my word for it. I think they have over like 50,000 5-star reviews. The customer service is great. Very, very fun to work with. I got Brooklyn and everything. I don't know what I can say other than
it's noticeable, Nick. Like the hand towels in your guest bathroom are like noticeably soft.
Yeah.
And it really it makes someone look so much classier.
Yeah, there's that one time you came over and you like came out of the bathroom and you're like, how rich are you? And I'm like, actually, I was just like, it's just Brooklinen, you know? And so you can be that person too.
You look schwanky with your Brooklinen.
Check out the gift guide to find the perfect present at the perfect price. Go to brooklinen.com and use promo code VIALL to get $20 off with a minimum purchase of $100 or more. That's BROOKLINEN.com and enter promo code VIALL for $20 off your first order. That's brooklinen.com and code VIALL. I mean, I saw something. Again, it was online, so who the fuck knows? But it's a damaging fucking drug, right? And depending on who you talk to, there's arguments to be made about the impact alcohol has on the individual user and the people around them is the most damaging drug there is. And first and foremost, it is a drug.
Oh, yeah, absolutely.
You know, and in terms of the damage it does is as significant as any drug out there. And yet, I can be like, what if your husband did coke recreationally or heroin, and you're just like, of course I wouldn't put up with that. Of course I'd be okay with saying I don't want to date someone who like does cocaine, and yet you're just like, oh, I don't want to like ask him to not drink.
Yeah, I guess it's just hard because this wasn't even close to being an issue when like the first 2 years of us being together.
It's an issue now. Well,
it's an issue now. I guess I just don't want to react
to your partner turning into a different person when he uses a controlled substance or uncontrolled. I guess it's somewhat controlled. Yeah, I mean, you know what I'm saying?
No, yeah, I get it. In theory, I totally get it. I understand, but it's just hard. It's a shitty situation, you know?
Sure,
like,
but I mean,
he could
start smoking weed or, you know, like you're not even asking him to like be completely sober. I mean, there might be, and again, maybe he doesn't have to quit drinking. You know, maybe it's like I know a lot of people are just like, oh, listen, if I want to drink, I have to drink beer because anything else, I turn into a different fucking person. Like I have some friends, anytime they drink whiskey or it's tequila, some people react different to different types of alcohol. And maybe it's that simple, right? Yeah. But
I think
also there's a world where you're just like, I tried this. I tried to like be chill, but like I just have absolutely zero room for ever dealing with this again. I don't ever want to feel like this. I don't want to be in love with someone who I have to leave the house because I don't feel safe or I'm just angry. And imagine like having kids in this environment. Like,
well, this is not scary.
This is not like you're annoying, you know, like I don't like it when you play video games. Like, you know what I'm saying? This is not. Unfortunately for your fiancé, he doesn't know how to drink responsibly. And you've held a hard line. He tried, but he fucked up again. And he's an adult man. So after he did that again, what did he drink? Like, did you know what he drank?
Well, no, yeah, I wasn't babysitting his like number of drinks or what he was having. So not really. I know, we were with his family, and both my family and his family are pretty heavy drinkers just in general.
Yeah.
That's just a fact.
Yeah, that's the tough part you're gonna have to deal with, right? Because here, when I was saying, I'm curious like what people listening are thinking, right? Because alcohol is a big part of our culture, right?
Mhm.
It is. Movies, TV shows, sporting events. We're advertising alcohol, and I drink. I'm not a big drinker, but I'll have a drink one now and then. But it is something. I mean, when I was on the first season of The Bachelor, it was a group of guys that were heavy drinkers. And part of the reason I didn't feel like I totally fit in with the core group of guys is because I didn't want to get drunk with them every goddamn day.
Yeah.
And I know they judged me for it. It's like they couldn't trust me because I wasn't willing to get drunk with them. It's fucked up, but in our society does shit like that all the time. And so I empathize with the position you're in, dating someone who's his family, even in your family, as you say, are big drinkers. But does that mean you have to put up with that? Absolutely not. Does that mean you should? Absolutely not. Does it mean that you don't have the right to just stand your ground, as challenging it may be, and saying, I don't want this in my life. I don't want this in our lives. And if you want to give him like one more shot to like try to figure out how he can go about drinking responsibly, then maybe, but like, aren't you kind of at the end of your rope? And at some point, he needs to be willing to give enough shits to do something about it. I mean, this should be like, I was talking about my buddy. Thankfully from him, it just really embarrassed him. He got in himself in enough of trouble with enough of friends, and he had to make enough of apologies. And again, it wasn't from he was like putting anyone at risk, or he wasn't violent in any way.
Well, and I want to be clear. Yeah, it's terrible. It's not like he does this. That was he's never been aggressive other than that one.
Yeah, I get what you're saying. It kind of reminds me.
What I mean?
No, I do.
I don't want to preface him as like an aggressive person. That's just not him.
I get what you're saying. I really do. I mean, it reminds me a lot of someone I know, and really, it just generally ain't such a sweetheart on this person. The point is, yeah, early in college, like around this age, I was like, okay, but he just felt really embarrassed. It was embarrassing. He embarrassed himself. It was like he just got tired of apologizing to people. And so like, he just stopped. He figured out what he had to do to stop putting himself in that position. So yeah, you're just going to have to reconcile with what you're willing to ask him to do. And I think you have to give yourself a little bit more grace to set some tougher boundaries at the risk of you feeling like you shouldn't have to babysit, or you shouldn't have to tell him to do this, or your family or his family being like, she's making you not drink. Like, who the fuck is blah, blah, blah. I don't know. Like, it's not okay.
Yeah. So where we left things with our last conversation was I basically said, you've tried to figure it out on your own. You still have no idea when it's coming, when you're going to black out. You just have no idea. So I need you to get help from someone else, whether that be like someone that specializes in alcohol or a therapist or couples therapy, whatever. I need to see you try to figure this out further than just you being like, oh, I'll just like keep track of what I'm drinking.
Does he need to drink? Does he drink every day? I mean, do you think
no. That's the thing. He's not even a huge drinker. It's just when he's out in these social situations with like his friends or his family.
Well, that's what I'm saying. Like, I think, listen, we're huge advocates for therapy, just being a normal human being in society. And I'm not saying, therapy is not going to help, but if this is, it doesn't necessarily have a drinking problem. We're not like reliant on alcohol to get through the day or things like that. But he is a binge drinker and he doesn't know how to drink responsibly. And so, I mean, like a therapist or like, it's just, again, it might be as simple as like, don't drink this or that, or, and again, if it's not any one alcohol, then he might need to not maybe it is. I only have 4 drinks. That's it. Because my buddy, it was always like, it was the shots or this or playing drinking. He loved drinking games. He would be doing things that encouraged binge drinking.
Yeah.
And you don't keep track, and the night goes on, and eventually the lights go off, right? So like, I mean, who really needs more than, I don't know what the number is, but like to get a small buzz?
Yeah.
Like, I don't know why. I don't drink to get drunk, so I can't necessarily relate. I know that it's not everyone, but and again, if he wants to like get a little loose, maybe does he smoke weed? Like, God, no one blacks out from smoking weed, like no one gets violent or, maybe it's something else. If he wants to find another way to like unwind,
Yeah. Mm-hmm. He does smoke. So like, that's not, he already has that.
Okay. So like, can he just like not drink the alcohol?
That's what
The biggest thing is you need to stop feeling less guilty for setting some boundaries and drawing a hard line.
You're right. Yes, I agree.
And you got to stop making excuses for him. And again, encourage therapy, couples therapy, but like couples therapy isn't not going to like, I don't know. I don't know what a therapist would say, but I feel like they'd be like, I don't know, stop fucking doing things. Like, again, because it's not like the way you're describing it, he's not an alcoholic from what I'm not an expert in this. So I'm not in position to diagnose someone, but it sure sounds like he's not reliant on it. And you don't have to be an alcoholic to like from my understanding, like some people black out and some people throw up. I feel like there's I'm a throw upper. I've never blacked out in my life. I can't relate to it.
He's both. And I have like a fear of throwing up. Yes, he's both. It's awful.
Really? Because I feel like my body will reject the alcohol. Like I'll get to the point my body's like, no. We're throwing this up because we don't black out. And he's throwing up and blacking out. What a mess.
Yes, correct.
And he likes this? Why does it does he not?
I don't know. Like I said, it's like he'll start drinking and he'll think he's okay. And then all of a sudden he's just not. And he says,
is he eating?
Doesn't see. Yeah, I mean, I try to make sure that he eats before he's going to like drink.
Why are you trying? Like, why is it like he's an adult man? This should be embarrassing to him. I mean, it should. I mean, hearing the story that he got in any way aggressive or made you feel in any way unsafe, assuming he's the sweetheart you claim he is, it should have embarrassed him to a degree that would make him go, I'm never fucking doing that again.
Yeah.
And either stop drinking or making sure he's eating an entire fucking pizza and then maybe having a couple drinks because like, that does matter. Like if you drink on an empty stomach, you're gonna get fucked up. If you like have a bunch of carbs before, it'll absorb the alcohol better.
Yeah, absolutely.
So like, is it that hard? I don't know, like anything else. Sometimes as an adult, we like look at a situation and we like take extra steps and precautions to make sure that we're safe and the people around us are safe. As your fiance, on some level, I'm assuming you want him to be a protector. I want my girlfriend to protect me and I want to protect her. And is it too hard to ask for him to like take a couple steps when it comes to like him going out and having fun and enjoying himself that he can't like take certain precautions? Is it too hard to ask him to wear a seatbelt when he gets in a car? What's the fucking difference? Yeah. He's an adult. Like a 6-year-old, you're like, I don't know, like you should wear a seatbelt, but like I can't, they're 6. I can't trust him to always remember to put a seatbelt, so I got to tell him.
Yeah.
And I get it. You don't want to babysit him. You are engaged in an adult man. So he needs to fucking act like it. And if he doesn't, then yes, you have to set some boundaries and you have to stop feeling bad. He's the one who's making you feel like you have to do this because he hasn't chosen to do it on his own. And I would be if I'm his friend or if I'm you, I'd be like, why doesn't this embarrass you to the point that you want to go so far out of your way to ensure that you don't do this again? Because like he can help it.
Yeah, I agree.
And there's no level of which you can go that would, he could accuse you of being a bitch or mean. You know what I'm saying? Like he crossed that line. And now, don't make me have to do this, man. Like, what the fuck? I don't want to call into a podcast and ask some guy like his opinion. Like, why are you putting me in this position?
Yeah.
And he is. And he needs to own that and take ownership for it.
Yeah.
expect him to want to hold himself accountable.
Yeah.
Because, I don't want to babysit someone I'm dating either. So make sure he doesn't put you in a position to feel like you have to.
Okay. I will. I'll try my best, at least.
Don't try your best. You can do this.
Okay. Okay.
Come on. Why don't you feel like you can do this? What's stopping you from
The idea of even like semi breaking off an engagement, like terrified, like
no, I get that. But like,
like I don't.
Why does it have to get to that point? Does there something in your gut tell you that he's not willing to do this?
No, he is. He definitely is. But I thought that the last time, and it was good for 7 months, and then out of nowhere, it wasn't good anymore. So like, I'm just worried that it'll be good for a while until it's not good.
Well, I guess what I'm saying is it seems like there's a part of you that even maybe you said, I don't like this, that you are, it's like I feel like you haven't come down on him hard enough.
Yeah.
Before like you get to the point where you know what I'm saying? Like, I think you have the right to kind of like lose it on him. I don't mean like in a toxic way.
I agree. Thank you for your advice.
All right. So I don't mean to be so hard on you, but it's
You're not being hard. It's what I need to hear. I get it. I just, sucks. Relationships are hard. That's all.
I know. And this does suck, and I empathize with you, but I think this is salvageable. And if he is the guy you say he is and you think he is, then he should want to fix this, and it's fixable.
Yeah, it totally is. It is. Yeah.
So, all right.
Cool. Thank you.
Best of luck.
I appreciate it.
All right. Take care. How's it going?
What's going on, Nick? Johnson.
How old are you?
20.
How can I help, Johnson?
So basically, I was dating my ex-girlfriend from the beginning of quarantine to about 5 weeks ago, like a month ago.
Okay.
And so so when I got out of a relationship prior, at the time I was a sophomore in college. So the whole freshman year I was dating a girl, and I was just not really into that relationship. Probably should have ended sooner than it did. And I got out, and this girl that I had always been friends with, had always had a great relationship with, we started hanging out a little bit one-on-one during quarantine, and one thing led to another, and we started hooking up, and it was hard. It was a little weird at first because like I had just gotten out of a relationship, so I didn't really know like if it was the kind of thing I should jump into. She ends up hooking up with another guy, and because I'm in college. Yeah, we're all still in the same social circles.
So just to make sure I'm understanding, so the girl you started talking to after you broke up with your other girlfriend, you guys are hooking up, but you're not ready to fully commit. So in the meantime, she hooked up with someone else because, hey, fuck it, you guys are
because that was the agreement. Yeah,
totally. All right,
does
cool.
that, and I'm like, feel it. So I'm like, okay, so I clearly feel this way about this girl. So we end up. I actually kind of approach her and I'm like, look, I really like you. I know because of all of these ways I'm feeling because of, you kiss this other dude. And so we ended up from there, started to date, and we both stayed home that semester because like COVID was all weird. Sure. So, pretty much like she was nannying. I was staying at home. I was working a little bit, and, we started hanging out like pretty much every day. Don't have a ton of memory, honestly, of like that whole time because it was all a blur because nothing really happened. Then we end up going to school that second semester. She goes to school 50 minutes away from where I do.
So we both are you guys like dating now?
Yes, we're dating.
She hooks up with another dude. You're like, whoa, time out. I like you. She's like, fuck it, I like you too. And
yeah. I mean, she told me, she's like, I've liked you kind of for a minute. I just was like, kind of following your lead.
And sure. And then you guys kind of hang out, not in school.
Yeah.
All right, cool. Now you go back to school, and you're 50 miles away.
Go back to school, and it's like we're kind of doing long distance, and this is where it gets complicated because her school was in like a bubble for COVID, so I couldn't see her for 6 weeks, even though we're an hour away. Sure. And so that put a lot of strain on our relationship. I think for her, she was in not a great mental space, and for me, I don't think I was emotionally available enough to be everything she needed to be or needed me to be at that time. And so we kind of struggled that semester towards the end. The first half wasn't that bad. We started struggling towards the end. And then we got back to school, or we got back home last summer, and we both kind of agreed like to break up. So we spent a month and a half apart during the summer. And, you know, initially, like I just was kind of checked out. And so I didn't feel like I needed to process anything really. Like I was like, oh, it's over, like whatever. So then, you know, I'm like, cool, I'm going to do my thing. And I end up, you know, I'm going out with my friends, and I end up my ex-girlfriend, my other ex-girlfriend, not
the first
the
one.
ex-girlfriend.
The first one.
This is the one before that.
Okay. Some girl you dated in the past.
Yeah. Like in high school.
Sure. Okay.
Toxic relationship. She ends up cheating on me, and I never talked to her pretty much again. Like after that, she cheated on me, and I was like, cool, we're done. 3 years go by, and there's clearly something still kind of there because I see her out, and we're still in like we have mutual friends, and one thing leads to another, and we start hooking up with my toxic ex-girlfriend from 3 years ago.
Uh-huh.
And so that goes on for 3 weeks, and then my other girlfriend, my most recent girlfriend that I broke up with, she on my birthday. No, she doesn't find out yet. But on my birthday, she posts like a hot ass thirst trap, basically, on my birthday, which is like kind of like, yo, like a little dig. And I sat in my bed for like 3 days straight, just like, what the fuck have I done?
Well, why didn't you reach out to her? Well, so did you end it
with
the most recent girlfriend, the thirst trap?
Yeah, basically I did. It was more me, but we both kind of knew it was coming. It was more me because I like would just felt like she would get upset with me about, you know, I would want to go with my friends, and she would, you know, be like upset with me. And I just kind of felt like I couldn't give her what she needed.
Yeah, you were saying. So like you guys were having issues, at least from your point of view, and you decided, hey, I don't think this is going well for us. And
it was more of like, look, I love you and I appreciate you, and I want you to go find someone who can meet your needs at that level, because I don't feel like I can. And in the state I'm in, because, you know, we're young and all that. And
so, when you broke up with her, was she like cool, or did she resist? You know, she was pissed.
No, we both kind of knew like it was what's best. So it was
and
mutual.
She, you know, wanted to look hot on your birthday. You know, whatever, good for her.
Yeah, exactly. So she does that, and I'm bedridden for 3 days because now I'm like, okay, what the fuck have I done? Like I miss her so much, and you know, this other girl that I'm hooking up with, that's my toxic ex-girlfriend, is like kind of in her friend group too. So, and we're like doing this on the low. It's like a really like sketchy situation. Shouldn't be happening really. And I'm like, oh my God, like what is the situation I've gotten myself into? So I get back, I was in Chicago. I get back, when all of that happened, I get back, I end it with my toxic ex that I was hooking up with. And then I meet up like the following day to talk to my other ex-girlfriend. And basically, you know, it's like, look, I miss you. And like, I'm starting to realize like what I actually truly lost. And I felt like I was a little too quick to break up with her before, instead of maybe pushing through it. And, you know, like, I just kind of told her, I was like, I've just felt like we broke up too quickly. Like I gave up too easily, and I want to give it more of a shot now, because this pain, like I never thought I would feel this, and now I feel this. And to me, like, I was like, I got to do something about it. So then she asked me about like, have I hooked up with anyone? Because you know, that's the kind of girl she is. And I tell her,
I mean, like, she's just a person, man. It's not the type of girl she is. She's just,
well, you know, some people are like, don't tell me anything, you know.
I guess in the situation you are in, I don't think most people are in a not want to know situation.
Yeah.
Not at 20.
Yeah. So yeah, probably you're right. Especially when, you know, we have a pretty small like bubble of people.
Yeah. So what did you do?
So I told her everything.
Oh, yeah. Okay.
And she was so broken and hurt and felt so betrayed, because she like
Why?
this ex was someone who she was always a little bit concerned about.
Okay.
She was always a little bit concerned that like not everything had been resolved between me and her. Cause she,
Well,
there was a moment where
in some ways it wasn't, she cheated on you.
and
It fucked up
she
your
was 100%
ego.
right.
When you were like, oh, there was something left. There was something there. What was there was your ego and wanting to feel validated, and she hurt you. And my guess is when you hook back up, you liked feeling that you probably associated her attraction to you or willing to hook up with you as some sort of regret on her part or her feeling sorry. And I don't fucking know. You know what I'm saying? Like,
100%.
Is that necessarily an excuse? Do I expect your current ex-girlfriend to understand that? Necessarily, but you wouldn't be the first one who's fallen into that trap before.
You're right. Like there was all of these things that were tied up in it. Although like obviously it went a little too far, I tried to kind of explain to her like, look, like this was a moment of vulnerability for me that I don't feel like I've been able to have in a long time. And yes, it was a mistake, but I feel like I've actually been able to learn and grow from it a little bit. And I think I actually would be able to give you a little bit more of a vulnerable version of myself that I wasn't able to do before because I had created this weird persona of myself of like, oh, I got to be this guy. I got to be very strict. I got to be like very, I was too worried about being the cool guy, before. And I like created this version of myself that I really wanted to be. And when I did this thing and I hooked up with her, like I completely threw that out the window. And although it was the wrong thing, I realized like, that's okay. That's being human. That's feeling, that's making decisions, not fully based on just the logic of the situation. So I explained that all to her and she was like, huh, okay. Like I actually kind of get that. And I feel like it sucks that this is what it took, like for you to do, like for this to happen for you. But, she's like, I am glad that you were able to do that. Cause she was like, I do feel like you're too strict on yourself and you're too hard and you don't let yourself feel and you don't let yourself experience life at a level that other people do.
Yeah. Also the important thing in that moment is that you were a single person. You say, well, I shouldn't have done it or it was wrong. Technically it wasn't wrong. You were single. Now,
I technically had no obligation.
Was it the healthiest thing for you to do personally? I don't know. Like, I get your logic, right?
Mm-hmm.
You're right. You're a 20-year-old young man. You should be experiencing life. What were you going to get out of, this was about validating your ego. That's not necessarily healthy, et cetera, et cetera. But technically you didn't do anything wrong. Does that mean not doing something wrong for yourself doesn't always mean that you're not going to impact other people's feelings around you? And you can't go about life. If you're going to be not in a relationship, then unfortunately you can't. I mean, you've told one story about 3 exes, and I'm sure each of your exes would want you to be empathetic to their needs, even outside of that relationship. But that's not a perfect world. And that's good that you are thoughtful and you're considerate and you don't want to hurt these people. But technically you didn't do anything wrong.
Yeah.
All that being said, where are you guys now?
So I was like, look, like, I want to give this another shot. I want to be the best boyfriend I can to you in a true and genuine way and not just forced because of this state of desperation I'm in.
Yeah.
And so she slowly but surely like starts accepting that. And so then we not date, but we're like together. We never technically get back together. And then we're together for probably a month and a half. And then I go back to school. I'm in school now. I'm here. And she goes back to school. And night 1, there's this dude. He kind of tells her like, look, like I really thought we would work out. I thought something between us would work out.
Uh-huh.
And like, she was just really bummed out about it. And she was like, like, I'm sorry. Like I'm with my boyfriend. Like I love him so much. Like he's the person I want to be with. And I feel guilty because she felt like she might've led him on a little bit. And so then the next day she calls me and is like, hey, like I had this conversation and I'm feeling all these different types of ways about it. And I'm like, well, what do you mean? She's like, I feel like we may have rushed into things between us a little bit too fast, because although you are the person I want to be with, and although like I love you so much, I feel like I might have been a little too quick to just take you back instead of maybe seeing what else is out there and seeing if there was someone with a better connection with me than you. And she's like, I felt like I kind of just took you back just because I still loved you. And you were like, hey, like I want you back and I want to do this. So it was just kind of like, of course I would, where she didn't really think like, this is the choice I want to be with, that he's the guy I want to be with. And everyone else out there for me is like, not right. Like Johnson is the person for me, basically. And so then I was like, that happened like the day she got back. And then I was like, all right, well, I understand why you feel that way. And I did some things, while we were apart that, like hurt you. And I want you to be able to feel like however you want to feel. And so I was just like, let me know what you think. And so 2 days later, I like called her because she like didn't really give me an answer. I called her and I was like, look, like, like I kind of want to know like where you're at, because I feel like I'm in limbo. And then she was like, well, like you're the person I want to be with and like all this stuff. And she's like, I might just be overthinking this. So we kind of just pushed it aside and we're like, let's move forward. 2 weeks later, I go over to her school to help her move some stuff, and we're happy. We're having a great time. She's hugging on me, kissing me, whatever. And then she's like, hey, can we talk? And I'm like, sure. And she's like, basically like all of these thoughts have continued to linger. I feel like we rushed into this maybe a little too much. And I want to be with you so badly. And I'm entering the zone of like a level of commitment that like is entering that realm of like, oh, I'm going to marry this kid. And she's like, I can't do that. And I can't give that to you and commit to you unless these doubts or these what ifs about other guys or anyone else out there being better for me than you goes away. Because like in the back of her mind, she was like, something just doesn't feel fully right about this. And so she kind of was like, look, like, I hope that, if we just find one day that we're meant for each other, we'll find our way back to each other. But for now, like, I got to go and I got to go figure these things out. And so I think the best thing is for us to break up. And it was super heartbreaking. And now I'm here. And that was like 5 weeks ago. And I've just been feeling so many things because I'm like trying to put some sort of, because it was like, okay, it's over, but it's like, is the door closed? Like, it didn't sound like it.
I mean, listen, I really appreciate your call. I'm through your pain and sadness. I feel I'm enjoying this call because it's so relatable. And you seem like a nice guy. You're a handsome fellow. I don't think you're gonna have any problem having women attracted to you. My question to you when you were telling your story, minus a thirst trap photo, and you guys missing each other, which makes sense why you guys missed each other. Like, why the fuck did you guys get back together? Like, what changed? You talked about this story, and you were like, something caused you guys to break up, and you made some comments like, well, that's who she is and a certain type of personality. And you only got back together, from what I could tell, because you missed her. Of course you missed her. She's a quality person you liked. You cared about her. You guys had feelings for each other. And when you break up with someone, short of them like being just fucking miserable or cheating on you, and even if you cheat on you, they cheat on you, you miss them, as you've already learned.
Oh yeah.
But missing someone is not a justifiable reason to get back together. And yet, and I'm not criticizing you. I've been there. I've done what you've done. But we often fail to ask ourselves and each other the tough questions of what's going to be different this time around. And missing you isn't a reason to get back together. And she'll say things like, oh, like I might want to I might want to marry you and I definitely want to be with you, but like, no, she has no fucking clue if she wants to marry you. You don't know if you want to marry her. You guys are only 20. And the older guy is definitely like, you guys should go and fuck a bunch of people and enjoy college, and you're just in your feelings right now, and you miss like I honestly you feel like you're handling this pretty well. Like you're sad, you're trying to process this, you're trying to be empathetic, you're trying to be mature about this. You're doing a hell of a job, but you're just kind of mourning the loss of a girlfriend. I feel like this is only going to be for the best. You guys probably do have a lot more to figure out as individuals. You guys you're hot for each other, you're horny for each other, you're attracted to each other. There's a lot of goodness there, and that's great. And you shouldn't feel like you have to dismiss that or disqualify that. You don't have to. I feel like you're in from my point of view, as someone who's lived it and been through it, you're in a very fortunate position, because right now you dated a good person, you had a nice relationship, and you guys broke off on pretty decent terms. The disfortune on your part is it was so good that you have way too much hope than you should that's holding you back.
Exactly.
Right? And you have to try to let her go. Like, try to really let her go and let go of this hope and this feelings. Is she going to come back? I don't fucking know. Probably. And that's not a good thing. You'll probably, like, knowing like this type of relationship that a lot of people go through is that you guys will waste a lot of each other's time for the next 2 or 3 years. And in between breakups and coming, you're going to meet another girl and you'll have some relationship, and that might not go well or whatever, because, fuck it, you'll be 21 and figuring shit out. And then what's going to happen when you guys are both single, you're finding your way back to each other. You'll definitely hook up, like, again, if that's what you guys want. Like, I'm almost certain of it, right? What you need to be careful of is, how much time do you want to waste of each other's? And I'm more on a personal level, or for you, it's not about like whether you're going to marry this girl or you're going to be fine romantically. You're going to have girlfriends. I'm not worried about you. But as someone who's in their feelings and someone who, like, you've talked about how, like, this really knocks you off your feet for a while. And man, you're 20 years old. Focus on school, focus on your friends. Like, and I say this is like, I literally did a TikTok today about, like, why do I even, like, talk about relationships and shit like that? And, just don't miss out on people and moments, and don't miss out on, like, experiencing college and meeting new people, because you're so, like, in your feelings, missing some girl who, like, listen, if I don't believe in meant to be, but you'll figure out a way to be with each other if that's what ultimately you guys choose to have. But right now she's choosing to, put herself first and prioritize new experiences and people. And quite frankly, that's what she should do. And if you guys do end up together, you're going to be so glad that you guys hooked up with other people, because that shit won't matter. And yes, like, getting jealous that she hooked up with someone, it's a natural feeling. But feelings don't mean love. Jealousy doesn't mean love. Wanting, like, those are natural feelings. We often, like, will run back to someone because we don't want them to be with someone else, but that's not necessarily a foundation for a relationship. So I think just, if I were you, I would just try to process these emotions, and I would stop trying to ask these questions, will she be back? Because that's not productive. I know it's natural. I've been there. I know exactly what you're going through. But my biggest advice to you is, don't let this waste some of your time, and don't let it from stopping you from missing out on being present, on enjoying experiences, to meeting new people, to making friends. Don't be the guy who's just, like, in his feelings at a party, just, like, talking to, like, girls about her and shit like that. And, no judgment. You're not and, like, you'll learn a lot about yourself through this experience. But
yeah, I mean, I've definitely been grateful that because I do think I agree with you. I think we were a little too quick to get right back together. I mean,
sure. Like, you didn't get back together for any actual reason. And if you're going to break up and get back together, and I'm not a big believer in getting back together with your ex, you sure shit should know what's going to be different.
Yeah, definitely. Well, I will say I did feel like I had a shift. And I mean, she told me, she was like, this time around, you've been a lot better and a lot more of the guy I wanted you to be the whole time.
But that was based off of you hooking up with an ex and kind of reacting. This is all very kind of reactive decisions. This is not necessarily like you growing as a person, and nor like, you're 20, like, you're figuring life out, man. And I guess this is a natural thing you're going through. Try not to waste too much time pining over her.
How do you let go in a situation where it was so good? Because it feels like
it wasn't so good. It was good. It was fun.
Yeah.
You try to see it as an experience, and at the risk of sounding condescending, the more experiences you have, the more you'll be able to appreciate things as an experience, and you'll be grateful for, this might not be my forever. There might not have to be some meaning behind it, but this was nice, and it doesn't feel right, or it wanted to leave, and I'm just going to let it go. And you got to stop wondering, how do you let things go? Stop wondering if she's going to be back. Stop asking questions, trying to understand something. You just got accepting things. accepting that like maybe your ego's a little bit hurt and it sucks that she, wanted to experience this other guy. But like, if you're being honest with yourself, you probably have shit you want to experience. And your fear of her experiencing things is stopping you from experiencing things yourself. So like, stop trying to make sense of it. Stop trying to understand it, and stop wondering if she's going to come back. And
it's hard. It's easy. It's easier said than done, because like obviously
watch Forgetting Sarah Marshall, watch Swingers. Those are good movies that they're old school movies. I don't know if you've ever seen any of those, but they hold up.
I haven't.
Yeah,
No.
watch.
I might check them out.
Watch Swingers. Watch Forgetting Sarah Marshall. This is the time. There is going to be no other time in the world that you have the ability to be as selfish as you are right now. I don't know what your hopes are for yourself, but responsibility, family, kids, whatever, you'll less likely have a chance to be selfish. So you're 20 years old.
Yeah, I decided that I was going to go abroad next semester.
Fuck yeah, man.
Shortly after it happened. And so I'm just trying to get to that point. Like if I can muster up enough like strength to get to, winter break and then go abroad without like,
you can get out there, get on the dating apps. Don't talk about her. Do not talk about her. Stop talking about her. Honestly, that's what you need to do. Like, stop reaching out to people. Stop exhausting friends. I did this shit. Like, don't. You've worked through it. Like you're talking to me.
I don't feel like I've fully worked through it yet because some days, still
you have. You just this is you ruminating. You just like you find comfort in talking about her because it's the only thing you have left of her, right? Because when you talk about her, you feel connected.
True.
So you have to let that go, right? It feels good to talk about her because it's having her, and you gotta have that willpower. You gotta go out there and you gotta go on some bad dates and meet women you're not interested in and have fun with your buddies and go out and focus on your friends, do some acts of service, volunteer or whatever, like get out of your bullshit, like do things that, get out of your head. And you're going to have to, it's no different than like, I'm going to go work out and pump some weights. And like, it's not always easy the first time you do it. It's going to be uncomfortable and you might be a little sore afterwards and it's not going to be amazing. But like, if you want to get in shape, you have to go get in shape. If you want to get over someone, you have to actually actively do shit to like get your mind on other things rather than the person you've just loved sitting around by yourself and thinking about because that's all you have left.
It's those moments alone that just really still kind of suck. And so it's like
go. You have friends, yeah. I know you have friends.
Yeah, I would like to think so.
Yeah, you're a popular guy, I can tell. So just to go embrace that, man. Like just get out there, and you got to be hard on yourself, and you got to stop feeling sorry for yourself, and a little bit of your ego, like you're in your feelings, and there's a big part of that that's great, but now you have to control it and get out of your bullshit because the price is heavy, right? Like it is. It doesn't feel like now, but 5 years from now, 10 years from now, I promise you're gonna look back and wish that you weren't wasting so much time pining over this girl. And then that won't, whether you're with her or you're not, you're gonna wish you gave her this much energy.
Yeah, I guess to me, it feels right to, be in so much pain because, I love her so much.
Yeah, that's rom-com bullshit. And that's validating your experience. And like, there's a little bit that you want to hold on to, but it's time to let go. You have honored the relationship and her enough. I promise. And now it's time to let go.
Appreciate you, man.
All right, buddy.
I love your tattoos, by the way.
I appreciate it.
Yeah. All right, man. I'll see you.
All right. Good luck. You're going to be fine.
Yeah.
All right.
Appreciate it.
All right. Bye-bye.
All right.
How's it going?
Hi, I'm Monica. I'm 29 years old and I live in Washington, D.C.
How can I help, Monica?
Here's my predicament. I got out of a long-term relationship in January of this year. So I've been single almost a year, I guess. And I've been really enjoying being single and dating. Mm-hmm. But my problem is that I really haven't ever been able to get past a first date or even second date with these guys that I go on dates with because I end up sleeping with them after the first date without fail every single time. And I know that's like a big no-no that shouldn't, as a woman, you shouldn't sleep with a guy on a first date if you're serious about him or you really like him. But I just love sex.
Okay.
And I and I want to, like I'm such a sexual person and I enjoy that. And I enjoy that part of getting to know somebody. So I guess my question is one, why are men like that, where if a girl sleeps with you too early, they lose interest? And two, I'm trying to figure out, is it really the, is it really that I'm such a sexual person, or is it some sort of validation that I'm looking for? I don't really know, but I'm not trying to be in another long-term relationship right now, but I would like to date a guy longer than, talking, meeting on an app, talking for a week or a few weeks, going on a date, sleeping with him, and then never hearing from him again.
Sure. Well, I don't really think it's a big no. It just depends on what your expectations are, right? That's how I view
Right.
it. I think you're trying to combine a bunch of things into one, right? Is it a guy thing? You're like, well, why do guys do that? We sit here and talk all the time about how challenging it is to date, right? That you can match with someone on a dating app and they seem like a fine person, and you go out and meet with them and they're like, I had a pretty good time, but like, whatever. I don't know. Like, again, if we're looking for one person, again, for all the people who are looking for a monogamous relationship with one person, in a more traditional thing, it's going to take time. You're going to meet a lot of like fine people who aren't your one and only, right? Just for the average person. If you're going to have sex on the first date with everyone, right? You're going to have sex with a lot of people that you're not that compatible with, that you're not all that interested in, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. Right? So it would just make sense that the more people you have sex with on a first date, the more people you're going to have sex with that ultimately you're not going to have a future with, regardless if you're a man or a woman. That's just my point of view. I'm not a doctor or a scientist or whatever, but it's pretty easy to look up and understand that, like, biologically, like, men and women in general, not across the board, do respond differently to when they have sex, right? And in general, women release hormones that make them feel more bonded and connected to their sexual partners, right? Which should kind of almost lead themselves on about how they feel. Because I would put it back on you, like to my point, like, you're going on a date, you might have a nice time, and then you decide to have sex. What do you know about these people that would justify you saying to yourself, I really like them, I want to invest more in them, like, I'm sad that they don't want to call me? But you're not getting to that point. So yeah, like, you're getting sad or disappointed about these guys you've gone on one, maybe two dates with, and you decided to have sex with, and you don't hear from them or whatever reason, right? But other than the fact that you decided to have sex with them, and you say you're into sex, you're enjoying the sex, so you want to have sex, great, you're empowered to have sex. Why are you so disappointed that they're not calling?
I guess for me, like, I wouldn't sleep with somebody I didn't have a connection with on a date. So if I go on a date and it's happened where I'm like, oh, I'm not really feeling this guy, I don't think we have that much in common, I wouldn't sleep with him. But a lot of the dates I've been on, I've been, halfway through the first date, I'm like, oh, I actually kind of like him, and I wasn't expecting to, or whatever it may be.
But think about what you're saying. You're like, I actually kind of like him. And I don't doubt that from everything you've learned through texting on a dating app or FaceTiming or meeting them for the first time in person, you like what you know so far, but you clearly don't know a ton about them. And there's probably so much you could learn that might change your point of view. And you're basing so you know what I'm saying? Like, I guess what I'm saying is, again, it all depends on what your expectations are. If you like sex so much, you're just like, hey, I'm at a time in my life where I like having sex. I want to have sex. I can have sex. And I want to decide who my sexual partners are based off of, my safety, whether I'm physically attracted to them. I just want to have a decent time, but I want to get laid. Then go do that. Go have fun.
Right.
Get yours. Be safe. Wear protection. Don't, get,
Right.
and have fun. But I think it's unrealistic for anyone, man or woman, to have sex because they have sex and then do it in an early dating situation, first, second, third date, a couple weeks, and not have that complicate and play a role and in someone they're say to themselves they're romantically interested in pursuing for some sort of long-term relationship. Because like you ask, why do men do this, right? And I'm just speculating. Like sex, you like sex, right?
Yeah.
And you might have more casual sex or more sex in general than someone else. But that doesn't make sex any less powerful or intimate or awesome, right? Would you agree with that?
Yes, I agree with that.
So once you have sex with someone, you certainly learn a lot about them. You see them naked, you're exchanging bodily fluids. And so you've gone on one date, you've had a couple conversations about, probably generally benign, high level things. And then you have sex with them. So that's such an intense thing that they're going to be basing an overwhelming majority of their decision on the sex because they know about the sex and they know very little about you. Right?
Yeah, I see what you're saying.
Your subconscious is just generally going to you're going to overweight the importance of sex when you know about the sex, but you don't know about the person. Right? And for
that
most
makes
people,
a lot of sense.
Like a guy, like I said, I use this analogy, like guys think of sex like a movie. Like most guys probably have sex with you and have a nice time. And it's just like we watch most movies and like have enough time. And I'm not like in any way critiquing your sexual prowess. Like, it's just like, yeah.
Right. No, I
understand.
just
like, okay. So I think you need to make clear expectations for yourself of what you're looking for on a first date. If you want to, if you want to go on a date with a guy to get to know him, then get to know him and maybe refrain from having sex. If you want to go out and you're feeling horny and you want to have a good time, go have a good time. You might get lucky. There's certainly plenty of people who are in love and have married kids who had sex on the first date. And that can certainly happen. And some people will look at it and say, hey, listen, they're either going to, and in a lot of ways, I'm a big believer. They're either going to like it and they're going to like me and they'll keep hanging out, or they won't. And I would probably be willing to bet that many of the guys that you are having sex with on the first date that end up not hanging out with you any longer, even if you didn't have sex with them, they might not, you might not be going on second and third dates anyways. The only difference is you might be feeling a little less vulnerable because there's a part of you that is disappointed that they're not reaching out, and then you're feeling rejected and you're like, but we had sex. And like, you know what I'm saying?
Right. Yeah. I guess what would your recommendation be? Like, how long, if I say I go on a first date and I really like the guy, I don't sleep with him, go on a couple more dates over the course of a few weeks, how long should I wait? Or I know there's no
clear answer. And I've been on this kick and I'm writing this book about it. And I think a lot about hookup culture. Like you're participating in hookup culture, and a lot of people are.
Right.
Most people are, right? Like I just don't think that you can date someone for a couple months and know everything about them. And some people might argue that that's not hookup culture. Like I've been, but like, you date someone for a couple months, you hook up, 3 months later, it doesn't work out. And I don't have a problem with hookup culture. I'm not shaming hookup culture, but like it's slightly more casual sex than we used to have, right?
Right.
There's just no guarantees. Like, so either you're someone, and I'm that person who's like, I don't sit there and give shit about body count of myself or my partner. Like, that doesn't mean, it's high or whatever. I don't prioritize that. And if you are going to be generally open to having sex and enjoy sex and be comfortable with being single and not be desperate to like jump in a relationship just to have someone around and Netflix and chill with, or like go to, flea markets and shit, then from time to time, you're going to hook up with people, whether it's a one night stand or a first date, or you've known them for a few weeks. And chances are that it's not going to work out. Right. And over time, you're just going to accumulate a handful of people you've slept with. And as long as you're safe and smart about it, it's totally fine. Right. I just think people get themselves in trouble with themselves because their expectations aren't very clear to themselves about what they're looking for. And they kind of blur the lines between wanting to have sex and want to establish and make a strong connection with someone.
Right.
So, the longer you wait to make emotional connection, the more weight that will carry in someone determining if they want to keep hanging out with you once they have sex. Right? Because as we often talk about, the first time you have sex with someone is rarely often the best sex you're going to ever have with them. Right?
Yes.
And if a guy, like generally a guy, they, have sex. And again, like men's body is biology different than women. They, release a lot of testosterone and they kind of go into this, like, I want to be alone kind of moment and whatever, just our chemistry in our bodies. Now, if a guy's been hanging out with someone for a period of time, and they might feel that kind of like, I don't know, I don't want her around right now, but I don't, like literally our brains are just kind of foggy and fucked up afterwards. But then we think about how, like, I just love being around her and I feel comfortable around her and I trust her and I like calling her and I like taking her to movies and spending, you know what I'm saying? Like, he's considering all those other things. And he's not like worried about like, well, I guess I've had sex with her, whatever.
Right.
Like, he's not worried about like, it was pretty good sex, but like, it didn't blow my mind, like, whatever.
Yeah.
And so I think try to separate when you're dating. And if you're going to decide to have sex with someone, do I want to have sex, or do I want to make a stronger emotional connection with someone? And then you decide which one you prioritize. Maybe look into having a fuck buddy while you're dating, someone you're consistently like hooking up with, if it's about like just getting laid. And then as far as you're asked a question, like, is it for validation or not? I think if you have to ask the question, there might be some truth in there. Right.
Yeah.
But yeah, guys don't like women better for putting out early. They don't like them worse either. They just.
Right. Yeah. That's kind of like what I figured. There was one date that I went on with a guy on that specific app was Tinder. And Tinder is known, I guess, for the hookup app. And he straight up told me on this date, like half an hour into it, he was like, yeah, I wouldn't ever use this app to find my future girlfriend. And like, I hadn't even hooked up with him or anything. He just straight up said that. And I'm like, okay, maybe I should get off Tinder. Like,
maybe, I mean, you can find those people anywhere, but at the end of the day, well, like, you're not at the mercy of an app. You could, right? You're at the mercy of your choices. You're at the mercy of the boundaries that you set for yourself. And there's nothing wrong with going on a date, feeling frisky, and wanting sex. It's just if you're trying to establish an emotional connection with them, having sex sooner than later might complicate that or insert other variables that will distract you two from building an emotional connection.
Right.
And I think that's just a reality. And it doesn't mean you can't. It just means they better really, 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 really like the sex and want to come back for more sex that will allow you to build that emotional connection. But there's more often than not, you could still build emotional connection, have sex, have it be pretty good, have it not be the best you've ever had because there's awkwardness and you don't know each other's likes and dislikes and things like that. And then you can build off the first time you have sex because you have this strong emotional connection that's keeping you, to want to see each other again.
Yeah. Well, I mean, I think this is all really helpful advice. So
Yeah.
I'm thinking about your advice and kind of use that going forward in my dating chronicles right now.
Yeah. Just try not to confuse. Yeah. Just try to separate the two and don't beat yourself up. And when you want to go out and have some fun, make it about having fun. Don't lie to yourself about what your expectations are of the situation. You have to say, if I'm going to have sex on this first date, it is about the sex. It is because I want to get laid. It's because I want to have fun, and we'll see what happens. But
right.
Me having sex is more important than seeing where this relationship goes with this guy, because who the fuck knows? I've only known him for like 24 hours.
Right.
I just know I want to have sex with him. And then the rest, you just have to see what happens.
Yeah.
But if you go on a date and you're having a good time and you're like, oh, this is really nice. This is good. Like, you know what? I'd love to have sex with him. Great. But like, I want to get to know him more. And I want to like not confuse my feelings or confuse his feelings and bring sex into the equation, because it's going to cloud things. Let's just focus on getting to know each other. And then you make that choice for yourself. So even if that person comes from Tinder, you can still choose to set your boundaries.
Okay.
Can't wait to see how many people agree or disagree with what I'm saying when it comes to hookup culture. Yeah, I think we just need to be more realistic about sex and dating. And, I don't like the, why do guys do that? Or it's bad for women to do that. Like, it's just all that matters is what you want for yourself and how honest you are about your choices and what you want in the moment versus what you want long-term. And as long as you know what you want, then it's all okay. As long as you're safe and
And like you mentioned, like setting those expectations for yourself.
Yeah.
Yeah.
People are all like setting expectations for other people. They're on dating apps. People are like, yeah, if you only want to fuck, like, you know what? Set those for yourself. And then put yourself in situations where you feel comfortable to enforcing those boundaries you've set for yourself. And, hopefully it all works out.
Cool.
All right. Best of luck.
All right. Well, thank you so much. I really appreciate you taking the time to give me advice.
No, thank you for calling. How's it going?
Hi.
Hi. What's your name?
My name is Morgan.
Hi, Morgan. How old are you?
22.
How can I help?
So I feel like I should preface by saying I've never been the dating boyfriend type of girl. I've always, throughout high school and college, I always had the mindset that I have my whole life to be in a committed relationship. So I really just wanted to enjoy my life being by myself. And in doing so, I've definitely become very confident and very comfortable and happy being by myself. So all my friends always told me that would change when I found the right guy. And of course that happened. So last month I was in the Hamptons for Labor Day and I met this guy at a party and we exchanged numbers and Instagrams. We just briefly talked. And then on Monday, he texted me asking if he could take me on a date. And I responded yes. And right away, he texted back, Tau, Friday, 9 p.m. And I really liked that he had taken initiative right away, set a date, not being wishy-washy. So we went on the date and right away just really hit it off. We had so much in common, a lot of the same interests, very similar life goals. We realized we have a lot of mutual friends and we run in the same social circle. So the sexual chemistry was really good. We just really hit it off. So he had to go home afterwards for a business meeting. And then him and his friends were going to, and including our mutual friends, were going to this club. So he invited me and my friends.
You're going to One Oak next door?
Close.
Anyway.
But so he invited us. We didn't end up going because I knew that if I went, I would leave with him. And I didn't want to because I was just like really confused about how I was feeling about him so quickly. And I just knew I would leave with him if I went. And like my friends were all so shocked because it's very unlike me to worry about having sex on the first date. I'm usually not one to like stress about that. If I like the guy, then I'll usually do it if that's what I want. So then the next night he invited us out again and we didn't end up going. And then that Tuesday night I was out with my friends and I invited him like last minute. He came by himself, was buying all my friends drinks, like dancing with me for hours. It was great. And then we went back to his, we had sex. And then, so I don't like to sleep at guys. I like to sleep at home. So afterwards I got up, started getting ready to leave. He drags me back into his bed. He's like, no, you're sleeping here.
So like, just to be clear, like are you being like funny or what do you mean dragged you? Like in a good way?
Pulled me back into the bed. Yeah. Like in a cute flirty way. And was like, what are you doing? Where are you going? You're sleeping here.
All right.
Like, yeah.
You liked that. Okay.
Yeah. And so like in the morning, my roommate, who's like my best friend, was texting me, where are you? Like, oh my God, like, cause I do not sleep with guys. So this was very unusual for me.
Okay.
That Friday night, our friends went out together again. Everything was good. I slept at his that night again. And that night he had invited me to like a bunch of like loose plans the next day, like Saturday parties, whatever. So when I went home Saturday morning, I was waiting for him to text me. He never texted me about all those plans he invited me to. And then at like 4:00, he FaceTimed me and was like, you and your friend should, like, we have a table tonight, you and your friend should come. And we had already actually told the promoter we would go with them to that club that night. And I told him that. He was like, no, cancel on him. Tell him you're coming with me. So of course I did. And then 10:00 rolls around, haven't heard from him. So I text him, what's the plan for tonight? He never responds. The next day, I was like waiting, like expecting for him to text me, like explaining what happened. I don't hear from him. So at 5:00, I texted him saying, what'd you end up doing last night? And he said, I ended up falling asleep really early because I was so tired from the night before, which made sense to me because we had literally slept for 2 hours the night before. But I was also like, why didn't he just tell me that today? Like he had made me cancel our plans for him and then just like totally blew it off. So then I didn't.
So when he said that, he wasn't really, was he apologetic or was he like, oh yeah, I fell asleep?
Literally all he said was, I ended up falling asleep. I was so tired from the night before.
Okay.
No follow-up, nothing.
Okay. Yeah.
So I didn't hear from him all week, which was weird because we had like hung out 3 times the week before. He had been texting me like whatever. So Friday, I texted him.
How old is this guy?
25.
Okay.
So I texted him Friday, hey, are we good? And he responded, yeah, I've just been really busy with work this week. And I took that as like a brush off because I'm like, if he was really busy with work, like I feel like he could have just told me that. And also like he would have like followed up and been like, he's not busy. Can I take you to dinner this week or something? But there was no follow-up. So the next day I texted him saying,
the honest response would have been like, yeah, I'm just not as excited about you as I was last week.
Right. And it was I was so confused because our mutual good friend kept calling my girlfriends, telling them, oh my God, he won't shut up about her. Like he keeps saying like, oh my, like just kept talking about me.
None of that matters. None of that matters.
So I'm like, okay. So I texted him the next day saying, are you sure that's all? Because I feel like you really you've just lost interest. And if that's the case, that's fine, but I'd rather you tell me than lead me on. And he responds, yeah, to be honest, I just got out of a relationship and I'm not looking for anything consistent. So I just responded to that, noted, and we haven't like talked since. He has been he swiped up on like one of my Instagram stories a few days ago with like the flame emojis. Like he's been swiped up on another like Instagram story I posted of like we have a lot in common. So like something I posted of music, like he keeps interacting with me still. And like, I don't know what to do because like, I've never really, like, I don't know what I'm feeling towards him. I don't think I know him well enough. We've only gone on a few dates, but I do know that like, I am definitely like interested in him more than I have ever been in anyone.
Great. Like this doesn't mean he's your guy just because he's the best of a bunch of people you haven't been excited about, you know?
Yes, definitely. I just like am so confused because
no, you're not. There's nothing really to be confused about. This is a really like actually very clear situation, which I feel like you know, because like you really seem to be, you know, ahead of the curve for like certainly way ahead than I was at your age, right? All this and the problem in your shoes is that you're someone who's really in control and really kind of thinking about this, but once in a while we always kind of meet some kryptonite and that will fuck us up a little bit. And he's just fucking you up a little bit. You know, listen, you caught a few feelings with a 25-year-old fuckboy. You know, it doesn't make him a bad guy, but he's just like, you know, and I don't mean like player, like piece of, like, I mean, he's just a fuckboy who kind of maybe wants to like fuck a little bit. And he got excited about you because you're a catch. And then all of a sudden got a little cold feet. And to me, like such a huge strike for someone, he got you to cancel plans. And let's assume he actually fell asleep, right? Let's assume he didn't lie and he told you the truth. He's like, I fell asleep. But what an inconsiderate response.
Right. And like to not even text me the next day. Like I texted him saying, what'd you end? Like,
so
definitely.
So my question to you is above, forget about everything else. For someone who's comfortable with being alone, recognizes that she's young and has a lot of fun and selfish things to accomplish for herself. And this is such an ideal time in her life. I'm talking about you to be selfish and to focus on your priorities. And you met a guy who you liked and there were a lot of nice, fun things that you liked about him. And yet within less than a week or two, he was incredibly inconsiderate towards you. Why isn't that more than enough for you to be like, yeah, well, it was, you know, fun and exciting, but like, wow, I'm definitely in terms of like things that I want to prioritize for myself. And since I'm so good at valuing my time and I'm not going to give up my free time, I'm not going to cancel plans for just anyone. I certainly want them to be considerate of me.
Yeah. And I think that's like part of what's tripping me up is like, I am always no bullshit. Like the second any like guy does one thing that like,
yeah, but it's easy to do that with people you don't give a shit about. Right.
Yeah.
It's harder to do when we care and you care. You're whatever it is, whatever he is doing, whatever chemistry you have or attraction. And, you know, that's when it's really hard to like enforce those boundaries and hold ourselves accountable. So
I've been really proud of myself for not texting him this week or anything. And like all my friends, of course, are giving me like garbage college advice.
Are they telling you to reach out?
Yeah.
Why?
Because they all keep telling me, but like I don't really believe it.
What his friends say could not be more irrelevant. Like,
no, I know.
Who the fuck knows? You're like, what does it? So like best case scenario, you're interested in a guy who doesn't know how to properly communicate his feelings, so he has his friends do it for him. Like, what's that?
And that's what I said. I'm like, he's a 25-year-old man. Like he's 3 years older than me. Like I should not be like asking, like I should not, the maturity difference is very clear for sure. But
your friends are telling you to buy a boat because like he can get tables for them. You know, they're like
ding, 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 the answer.
They're like, he gives your friend group access. It's the same as your friends being like, buy a boat so we can go boating. You know?
Yeah, that's absolutely what it is.
So,
and so they keep telling me to reach out to him. But I just feel like he assumed that I was like looking for something serious or like more, which is just not the case.
No. Don't do that. No. Like you did nothing wrong. Stop starting to like wonder if you didn't communicate your feelings well or if he misinterpreted. Like, no, this all started by you simply canceling plans for him and he fell asleep and then he was so inconsiderate not to acknowledge that you gave up a Saturday night. And that was inconsiderate. That's the point, you know? And then you gave him a little pressure and like you don't have to start pretending to be a cool chick, you know, and by cool chick or a pick me girl or whatever they want to call it, just because like, you know what I'm saying? You're walking a very fine line of compromising all the work you've done up to this point of being like the one of the few people who's 22 and mature enough to recognize the point in which she is in her life and the opportunity that she has in front of her. Because so much of us, and I include myself in that, wasted a lot of time and energy on shit that didn't matter when I was 22. And you're like, you're there. And like right now, you're like letting this 25-year-old fuckboy like start getting to question your choices. And like, you don't need him. That's your ego too. Being like, oh, no. Just he was inconsiderate and you want at a minimum consideration.
Yeah, I think you're right. I think definitely a lot of it is also ego.
Yeah. And stop listening to your friends, stop listening to his friends. I think you did such a great job in this situation. You set some boundaries, whatever. You slept at night. You did something you didn't normally do. You enjoyed it. Fine. You know what? You're allowed to like enjoy some things and have some fun. Don't change who you are. You felt a little bit like he was pulling away. You called him out on it. Hey, you checked in and you knew that you might not get the answer you want, but you did it anyways. Good for you for doing that. And then he gave you an answer. And like, who gives a shit? Like, he didn't say he hates you. He didn't say he's not attracted to you. He said he's not looking for something consistent. Relatively honest on his part. Good for him for being honest. And so he still thinks you're hot. So he's like sending you hot emojis and still taking your Instagram. And certainly at his convenience, he will hope that you have sex with him again. 100%.
That's like the other thing that scares me is like, we have the same favorite bar and New York's a big city, but somehow like we always end up like in the last week, we've already ended up there twice at the same time. So like, I'm very like, I definitely, and like with all of our mutual friends, like I'll definitely have to see him a lot. And exactly as you said, like, I'm sure that like, especially in those kind of situations when there's like alcohol and stuff, he's definitely going to probably try.
And then you can decide for yourself if in that moment, if you want to have sex with him, but just be realistic. It's 100% about sex.
Yeah. So I just have to really hold my ground on that.
Or have sex with him if you want to have sex, you know, whatever. Like if you think having sex with him will fuck you up emotionally and it will compromise you, then don't. But if you're just like, I don't know, like, fuck it. You're hot. I feel safe around you. We've already had sex, you know, but just be honest with yourself about what it is. Don't let him being flirty with you or seeing him think that he is now ready to have something more consistent. He really fucked up. And when it comes to you making considerations for him as it relates to like making him a priority in your life. He fucked up royally, big time. I think you should like emphasize how much he fucked up when it came to you considering him as a priority in your life. And for you to change your mind on that, he's going to have to really climb some mountains. But in terms of like seeing him around and, you know, treating him like what he is, a good looking guy who might be fun to party with from time to time, if you can have the willpower to like see it for what it is and not lie to yourself about what it's not, then do what you want. You know, don't be afraid of seeing him. He's just some fucking fuckboy, like who gets bottle service. Like New York's full of those guys.
Very true.
So,
okay.
You just got to be honest with yourself. And it sounds like you're really good at, for the most part, doing that. But just don't like, and if you hook up with them, don't like, oh, I hate myself for doing it. You know, it just depends on what, like, yeah, if you wanted to get laid. What a power move that would be if you if you wanted to have some sex, he tried to have some sex, you got up, you don't spend the night, and he's like, what are you doing? You're like, hey, listen, I just want to get laid, buddy. Enjoy your
that
week.
is absolutely the move I would do. I would not sleep there again. Like I would that is power move.
No, yeah, but make sure you're doing your first. You get laid because you want to get laid. You don't get laid just so you can do that move. That's beneath you.
Yes.
And it's hard to be honest with yourself. You just got to check your ego. But, and whatever. So.
Thank you.
I think the biggest takeaway of this call is do not discount him in being inconsiderate of your time. We so often love to dismiss that as no big deal.
I didn't even think about that before this call.
You should treat that like a cardinal sin as it relates to your willingness to give up your freedom and you valuing your independence. That's like a capital crime.
Yeah.
And we so often treat it like a misdemeanor.
Very true.
All right. Well,
Okay,
you're ahead of the
thank
game.
you
You're doing
so
great
much.
things. Yeah. So,
Bye.
all
Have a
right.
good one.
Take care. All right. Thanks for calling.
You too.
All right. Bye-bye. Thanks for listening. Don't forget to send in those questions at asknickacademy.com, cast with a K. Tune in tomorrow for our wonderful recap with the delightful Allie Barthwell. And on Wednesday, Fibula. Thanks for listening. We'll see you tomorrow. Hey guys, thanks for watching. Before you go, make sure you like, subscribe, and ring that bell so you don't miss any future videos like our Tuesday Bachelor recaps and Wednesday celebrity and expert interviews. See you next time.